I still write this with trembling fingers, as if thinking it might only be a dream. I was walking home after work, moonlight casting long shadows on the empty street. My pockets were nearly empty, and my heart heavy with the weight of the world. My days have been hard, alone and quiet. Then I saw her, an old woman struggling with 2 heavy bags of groceries, one bag already split open on the sidewalk. I remember the instant I stepped forward, heart pounding. "Can I help you, ma'am?" I asked, bending to pick up an apple that had rolled away. She smiled at me, her eyes the color of warm tea, and nodded. "Oh, thank you, dear boy," she said, tucking a strand of gray hair behind her ear. "My name is Evelyn." Something gentle and wise settled over her face. For a moment, I felt seen. I walked by her side down the street. The night air was chilly, but as she chatted softly about the small garden she keeps by her porch, I felt an unexpected warmth. Inside her house, the light was soft and smelled of cinnamon and aged wood. Evelyn insisted I stay for a cup of tea. Over steaming mugs, we talked quietly. I told her bits about myself, about my small apartment, and how I came home late every night from work, grateful to have a roof. She listened quietly, nodding, then let me hear whispers of her life too, though she spared the details. As I left her home later, the street lamp shone on her gentle face. She reached out and held my hand for a heartbeat, as if searching for a forgotten memory. "Remember this night," she said softly. "A simple kindness can echo farther than we know." I walked home under the moon, the echo of her voice in my mind.
The next day, I couldn't stop thinking about Evelyn. Something in her story felt incomplete, a quiet sadness behind her kind smile. I found myself waiting outside a corner market at the end of my street, hoping I might run into her again. Luck or fate must have been on my side, because there she was, bags in hand, at the far end of the street. "You're back," she called with a surprised smile. "I could use a hand with those tomatoes." I hurried over, and we ended up walking home together again. This time, under a blanket of afternoon clouds, she told me about her neighbors and her cat, Mr. Muffin, who was sleeping on her kitchen table. I helped carry more groceries and even swept the porch for her when I saw the wind had scattered the leaves. Inside Evelyn's living room, I noticed a small wooden box on a side table. It was old and painted of faded sky blue, with the name Anita carved on the lid in neat handwriting. Curiosity and nerves twisted in my chest. Evelyn saw me looking and gently laughed. "That was my sister," she said softly. "She helped raise me when I was young." She added, almost to herself, "She's gone now." I said nothing, just nodded and handed her a cup of hot tea. She sipped slowly, looking out the window at the twilight. I wanted to ask more, but her silence told me to wait. Instead, I told her a story about my day's work, about how I felt invisible sometimes in the crowds. Evelyn put her hand on mine. "We may feel invisible," she said, "but sometimes people see us better than we see ourselves." Over the next few days, I visited Evelyn often. We became a quiet routine. I would help with her groceries, and in return, she'd invite me in and feed me. I noticed how her house was full of memories. Framed photos of a younger Evelyn dancing at a fair, a baby with chubby cheeks held in a woman's arms, an old music box that played a tinkling lullaby. The mystery of that little box labeled Anita hung between us like a gentle promise to the future. Evelyn stayed tight-lipped, but I could feel the past swirling around her. One evening, as I helped Evelyn clean out her attic, I found an old photograph stuck behind a mirror. It was a black and white photo of a little girl with Evelyn and a man I assumed was the girl's father. The girl looked shy, clutching her mother's hand. Evelyn said nothing, but when she glanced at me, her eyes gleamed with something I had never seen: love and regret. That night, sleep escaped me. I felt as if I were standing on the edge of something vast.
Days passed and Evelyn grew more frail. One night there was a thunderstorm, and I found her sitting alone by the window, knitting with trembling hands. A bolt of lightning lit the room, and I saw something glinting in the yarn basket. It was a tiny silver locket, engraved with the name Rahul. My breath caught in my throat. Rahul, my name. "Whose locket is this?" I asked quietly, and Evelyn's hands froze. A long silence hung between us, broken only by the steady tap of rain on the glass. Her face was pale in the dim light as she looked at the locket. "I've held on to it for so long," she whispered. "I was afraid to give you answers you might not want." I felt my heart ache. "Tell me," I said softly. "I want to know." Evelyn stood slowly and beckoned me to sit beside her. She opened the locket. Inside was a tiny, faded photo of a baby with dark hair and big, curious eyes. "This was you," she said, voice thick with emotion. "I am your mother." My hands went cold, the words spinning around me. "What? No, that's not possible." Evelyn's tears slipped down her cheek as she squeezed my hand. "You were born the day after the biggest storm I'd ever seen. I was young and poor. I thought I was saving you by giving you up to someone who could feed you. I told myself you'd be safe with other people." I stammered. "I grew up not knowing who I really was, an orphan after my parents died." Evelyn nodded. "I searched for you until I couldn't. I kept this locket, hoping someday you'd come back to me." My eyes filled with tears as my own life flashed before me. Every lonely birthday, every midnight walk under the stars, every prayer for my mother that never came. "Why didn't you say anything?" I whispered, feeling betrayed and healed all at once. "I was afraid you wouldn't believe me," she admitted. "I was too ashamed. But every time I felt alone, I held this photo and hoped you were out there, living a good life." She pressed the locket into my palm. "I always believed our kindness would bring us back to each other." We sat together in silence for a long moment. Finally, I threw my arms around her. "You found me," I said with a choked laugh. "You found me." After years of feeling lost, she had given me myself back. Outside, the rain eased and dawn's light crept over the horizon. Evelyn looked out the window and softly said, "We are here now." I realized I was more than a poor man with empty pockets. I was someone's son, someone's kind act, someone's echo of hope. Now, years later, I write this as a reminder. In life, a single act of kindness can change everything. That night when I helped her carry the bags, I had no idea I was helping my own mother. Our worlds, so far apart, were woven together by compassion and fate. Evelyn's secret reshaped my world, but it was love and kindness that built our bridge. No matter how lost you feel, never stop reaching out. Sometimes the echo of our smallest good deed comes back to lead us home, to uncover the truths that will set us free.